G'day, I've decided to make a video series called The Book of Ayden, where I basically go over some concepts for Team CS, which I think would be very helpful to other people and have been helpful to me in the past. I by no means to claim to be a professional player. I am an amateur IGL from Australia of roughly 7 years, so hopefully my information is at least helpful. I want to go over 3 concepts today. They're the concepts of big stack, little stack, advantage and disadvantage, and sharp and smart rifles. So right now I'm in a 2D demo. This is on Skybox Edge. And I just want to quickly highlight what a big stack is and what a little stack is before I go into the other 2 concepts. So this is a round from FaZe versus Na'Vi. The final round of the game. FaZe has gone from a default into basically calling the execute, and we can see here that the big stack is basically the biggest collection of players. So here we have 4, and over here we have the small stack of 1 player. Now this can also work on CT side. If you say get into a disadvantage, then usually the big stack would be the one taking aggression to try and get the advantage back, but I'll talk about that in future. I just want to highlight what big stack, little stack is, and it's the biggest collection of players and the small collection of player or players. Now just playing out this round, generally how they play off of each other is not all the time, but majority of the time, your small stack's going to play off of your big stack. So in this case, the big stack goes for the execute. They're going to take contact. After contact is taken, then the little stack's going to move up, see if he can find an opportunity, in this case, Carrigan. Now, there's a lot of rounds where, maybe you're playing 3 in middle and this becomes your big stack, and then you actually have 2 small stacks, maybe a Lurk in Palace and a Lurk Apps, or an Extremity player. And essentially it works the same way, where if your big stack's kind of going in and taking your map control, let's say they're denied or they get killed, then your little stacks can make a play on this, because maybe it's drawn a con player to middle or drawn a short player towards middle as well. And this theory works on all maps and both sides, but just saying this to get a general understanding. I'm going to cut to in-game, and I'll start talking about the other 2 concepts. So we're in the server now on Inferno. I want to take a look at the other 2 concepts, sharp and smart rifles, and advantage and disadvantage. I want to start with advantage and disadvantage. So a lot of people might call this push and pull or rubber band theory. I've heard this called quite a few things, but what is an advantage in Counter-Strike, and how do you play from an advantage and disadvantage as a team? So an advantage can come through 3 main ways: man, map, or buy. A man advantage could come if you go for a pick and get it, you're 5v4 advantage. During a round, maybe you lose 2 people, you're going to be 3v5 disadvantage. The other form of gaining an advantage in Counter-Strike is through map. So on Inferno, let's say as the CTs you gain banana and bracket control, you guys are in a map advantage, the Ts are in a disadvantage. And finally, an advantage can come through buy. This one's fairly simple. If you're a full buy versus an eco or a force buy, you're advantaged. It can become a bit more nuanced if during a round, let's say you both start as full buy, but the Ts have used all their utility, and as CTs you've hung on to yours, then you can gain an advantage through buy. So that's generally advantage and disadvantage, what it is. Now, how do you play off of it? Well, let's say we use the example before. The CTs have gained banana, gained bracket, and the Ts are at a disadvantage. Well, the Ts need to gain an advantage back. How do you gain an advantage? Map, man, or buy. Which means the Ts either need to retake banana, which could gain map control back, take bracket control after taking apps. So if you think about it, like there's 3 main points of map control on Inferno: banana, bracket, Inferno. If the T's have apps but the CTs have bracket and banana, the CTs are still in a map advantage. If the T's are able to grab kind of apps and bracket, then it's a little bit more of an even game state / the T's have a slight advantage. And you're basically trading map control for advantage or disadvantage, but in our example the T's are disadvantaged, so they need to regain map control or go for a pick somewhere. Now, going for a pick could mean, you know, this person may be walking out trying to find someone, and if they get a pick, it's now 5v4. Well, the T's now have a man advantage, but the CTs have a map advantage. So now the game state's actually a little bit more even / maybe slightly favors the T's. And understanding that during a game is very important because it tells you how you want to play. So as the CTs, let's say you lose bracket and you lose top nana control. Well, now you're disadvantaged on map. So what do you need? Map man or buy. If you guys have a lot of utility and they have pistols, you can kind of just chill, react with utility. If they come up, it's all good. But if you're full buy versus full buy, well, now it's a little bit more serious. You're kind of in a disadvantage. You need to gain an advantage back. That could come through retaking top banana. It could come through retaking bracket. It could come through finding a pick, maybe in apps with a flash play. Doesn't really matter too much, but you need to gain the advantage back through man, map, or buy. And the more often you can keep a favorable game state for yourself, the higher your win chances are during a round. Simple as that. So that's how you play if you're disadvantaged. How do you play if you're advantaged? Well, let's say exact same thing. You're advantaged on map control for the CTs. Well, if you're advantaged on map control, you want to hold that for as long as possible. Even if you don't necessarily have to give your life, but let's say you have bracket and banana control. Well, if you think especially in Go, banana control might end up jump spotting. He's keeping nana control and you have bracket control. Now you're in an advantage state. Let's say the T's retake banana, this guy falls back. Now you're even in an even game state. Now that you're in an even game state, you can either sit still, keep your stack, maybe this guy's jiggling with utility, or you can look for an advantage. It's up to you, you're even. And let's say that might come through a flash play in middle, these guys go for a pick, come back, they're now advantaged. Now that the CTs are heavily advantaged, they might rotate one over to B side, just play 3A, 2B, and play in setups. And that's generally how you want to play advantages. You want to hang on to your advantage and play a bit more passively in setup. So if you, say, flash someone onto here, they ended up getting 2 kills and came back, and you're in a 5v3 advantage, you basically just come back and defaults your sights. It's honestly okay if the CT's playing deep bracket, come all the way back now, play maybe like double pit and 1 moto or something akin to this, because you're advantaged. It can get a little bit more nuanced. So for example, if you're a CT disadvantage, so 4v5, and then you want to play 3A, 1B, and you're kind of stacking the A bomb site. Now you're advantaged on the A bomb site, but severely disadvantaged on B. So it can get a little bit more nuanced, and that's where gamble stacking comes in. You're basically looking for an advantage on one side of the map. That's generally how you'd play with an advantage, how you'd play with a disadvantage, and what it is. So taking that aside now, I want to talk about sharp and smart rifles. So what is a sharp rifle? What is a smart rifle? How does it apply in game? Well, a smart rifle is generally using utility early and entering on the T side, and on the CT side, they're generally using utility to hold sights. A sharp rifle on the T side is often trading the entry, hanging on to a little bit of more utility, you know, think like lurk pack player, and then is playing late round situations, throwing utility or trading these smart players. On CT side, they're often rotate players and playing more guns up, again using their utility a little bit later in the round, but normally guns up defending a site. Now there are more concepts to apply to that, like big site and small site. So for example, B site on Inferno is a small site, so this is often held with utility. And A site is generally considered a big site, so you're more holding this on off angles when they come up. And shooting them as they come out on the site. Now, when you're playing sharp and smart rifles, I'll give an example on the T side. So when you're playing sharp and smart rifles, sharp doesn't necessarily mean the player is the sharpest, and smart doesn't necessarily mean a player is the smartest. It's just words for the concept. But let's say you're taking banana on T side in a default, so you're defaulting banana control. Let's say you've got one person doing utility, two people going up nanas, maybe one person in charge of middle, and then you lurk towards second mid apps area. Generally, your smart players will be coming up and taking the map control. Your sharp player will be maybe throwing a piece of utility. Or you could even have the sharp player coming up trading the smart player, and then have this smart player coming up taking mid space later, depending on how you want to set it up. So it doesn't matter necessarily too much as long as you're playing to the sharp smart concepts. But in this instance, let's say these two people are your smart players, this person's your sharp player. He's going to be throwing whatever utility is needed. These smart players are going to come up and take space, and then they're taking space as the sharp players, as the smart players. And what are they doing as smart players? Well, they might be dropping a smoke, they might be flashing middle, doing a Molotov in the top banana. Maybe they're going to actually have somebody else molly, and then they're going to organize double mollies. But you see, they're taking it with utility. They're using their utility before they die. So it's your smart players using utility. Your sharp players might use like a piece of utility to support, but they're usually supporting or trading. And then your op is kind of everywhere. And on CT side, again, your smart players are often your anchors, your sharp players are often your rotates. It's not always the case, but your smart players are using utility to defending the site. And then your sharp players are often guns up, rotating in, helping to shoot people. I learnt the smart and sharp rifle concept from Moe CQ years back. Really good player, old Australian professional, really good guy. But that's all I have for the concepts. They're the three big ones I wanted to go over in this video. I want to go over defaults and execute concepts in my second video, which I'll bring out when I feel like it. But I hope you all have a great day, and thank you for watching.